I'll just go back a wee bit. So I started my career years ago in 81 as a nurse. So I was a general nurse until 1995. I was a hill walker. That was my real enjoyment. And walker, long distance walker. And I did parts of the Camino in Portugal and Spain. Backpack, the whole lot, days and days, it was just brilliant. Loved being outside, loved doing stuff like that. Really interesting work that I did, I suppose very helpful work for other people as well. Making sure that people lived in houses of a decent standard was basically the bottom line of what my job was. So I was here in the house. I had a day off, and I just remember distinctly. I hoovered the stairs on the house, and then I came in here to this room, and there's 5 light shades in here, and I went up and down ladders for a couple of hours, taking down the light shades. It's quite so distinct in my mind because it's not something I did very often. I took them down, I washed them, and I put them all back up again. And I walked to the doctor's surgery, well, isn't very far away, and I got the vaccine. And I said to the GP, the retired GP, I said, what vaccine have you given me? And he said, the best one for you is the one I've just put in your arm. It's AstraZeneca. And I said, okay, fine. And then he gave me a leaflet, and then I left and I walked home. By the time I got home, now he also said to me, you might feel as if you have a heavy flu or something. He said, perfectly normal, it's a good sign, immune system working. So I came home, and by the time I got home, I was feeling quite unwell, and I thought, well, I'll just go to bed, and this great immune response is happening here. Infections, no indication that anything has gone wrong. In fact, your bloods are normal. But I said, well, I can't stand. I can't get out of bed. I can't function in any way. Really low functioning by this stage, to the point where I couldn't stand up for very long because my legs were so weak. And I didn't even realise my legs were weak. I thought it was fatigue. But I kept saying, why can't I stand? And said, go home and rest, dear. You'll be fine. I was just lying on the sofa with a laptop open beside me. And I had work that I could have done, project. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't cognizant. I couldn't get information into my brain. I couldn't write. So then I went back to the GP, and the GP said, you're in a loop here. We don't know what to do. We've been given no guidance. Back to the start. Once I spoke to the politicians, they were saying, well, you've got to fill in the COVID vaccine injury form, which is the vaccine damages payment scheme. And I think to date, out of about 18,000 people who've applied for that, me being one of them, just over 240 people have received a vaccine damages payment. And that includes the people that died, as complications from the vaccine. I had no qualms about taking a vaccine, and I still support science-based medication and science-based vaccines. What I would say is that it was known that some people would have an effect, but there was nothing put in place to look after those people. Very aware of that. I would call collateral damage. There was no one that I knew had a vaccine reaction, and certainly when I started to try and talk about it to people were quite angry at me for even suggesting that I had a reaction, and sometimes quite nasty. But there's so many people in the groups that I'm a member of who are much younger. Some of them are teenagers, some of them are young mums and dads, trying to raise children, losing their jobs, their careers, having real money difficulty, losing their homes, even losing their marriages. We've had quite a lot of that, where a partner hasn't supported you, or not being able to have the children that they wanted to have. It has impacted hugely on a lot of people's lives. I mean, not trying to make too hard a point of it, but we've had a couple of suicides in our group, particularly a couple of young men who were getting, I don't know where they were in their lives, but that really hits hard when you see things like that have happened. And maybe make people more aware of the safety net that should be there, that hopefully will be there for people in the future, and make them more comfortable maybe of taking medications that the government asks them to take, because there is a safety net, and they'll know about the safety net, which you would have assumed would have been there at the time